How's it going, everyone? Brad Kelly here. We're going to recap the divisional round of the playoffs, those four games that took place this weekend, and give a little look ahead into the conference championship round. Before we get into it, I got to remind you, you can subscribe to this channel using the button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Getting into the games I was 3-1 with my picks this weekend, so a lot of stuff that happened I thought that I anticipated. Obviously, one game I was incorrect. First game was Rams at Packers, a really kind of methodical performance by the Green Bay Packers. The Los Angeles Rams, while Jared Goff was out there playing hard and not playing poorly, it was pretty evident that he was hampered by the lack of grip that he could have on the ball. A lot of their passing game, while he was efficient through the first three quarters, only had a few incompletions, was a short and intermediate variety. A lot of it was in about 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So they weren't able to push the ball down the field and create the big plays necessary in order to upset the Green Bay Packers, especially at Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams just continued their historic season between the two of them, including reps against Rams cornerback Jalen Ramsey. On top of that, for the Rams defense, they gave up more points than they typically do. That was the number one defense coming into the game. But Aaron Donald's injury, he was definitely slowed down by that. He had a rib injury. And I think the fact that they didn't use Jalen Ramsey to travel with Davante Adams and the Packers were still able to scheme him up when Ramsey was in a man coverage on him. I think that was ended up being the difference in the game. I think the Packers going to be at home for the conference championship round. That's an advantage. They're going to be facing a warm weather team in Tampa Bay. It's probably going to be poor weather and cold once again. But their defense did have some more suspect drives. And that's going to be an issue moving forward because that's persisted. And Mike Pettin, as defensive coordinator, I think is a mismatch against Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, calling plays for the Bucs, and Tom Brady throwing to all those wide receivers. The second game that happened was the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. I had picked the Ravens to win this game. The Bills ended up coming out on top. A lot of miscues by the Ravens and a lot of poor execution on their end. And credit to the Bills for being able to capitalize when the Ravens had those poor stretches of execution. They missed two field goals, both of them off the post by one of, if not the best kickers we've ever seen in Justin Tucker. On top of that, the Ravens had a fourth and goal late in the game, incompletion. They had Lamar Jackson throwing that pick six on a third and goal. Getting close to the end zone. At the very least, if it's incomplete, they get three. Instead, the Bills cornerback Teron Johnson returns it over 100 yards for a touchdown. That was really, even if that gets batted down and it's incomplete, that's a 10-point swing on that play. Even after Lamar ended up leaving the game, Ravens quarterback Tyler Huntley had an open Marquise Brown when the Ravens were still down by 14 points deep on a fourth down, and it really should have been a touchdown. The wind obviously had a factor in that throw. And I think ultimately the Ravens just poor execution on those very small plays, but those meaningful plays, those scoring plays, the two missed kicks, the incompletion on a fourth down, the incompletion on a fourth and goal, and then the pick six was ultimately the difference in the game. The Bills' offense, once again, their lack of running game was evident, especially on handoffs to their running backs, but they were able to kind of fight through the wind and still be able to move the ball offensively through the air, in particular to Stephon Diggs, who's having one of the best seasons of any wide receiver in the NFL. For the Bills moving forward in the AFC Championship game, we'll see about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes plays, but I think the lack of running game will eventually hurt them. Now, they also missed two field goals, but they've been outgained in consecutive playoff games, and that's not really a recipe to continue winning football games, especially if they have to face the Chiefs at full strength or the Packers or Bucs at full strength. They got to figure out a way to better possess the ball and move it on the ground and complement their passing game that is executing at a very high level. The first game on Sunday was the Chiefs and the Browns. Obviously, the big story is Patrick Mahomes leaving the game. The Chiefs ran a speed option on a third and short, and Mahomes was tackled, and they believe he went to concussion protocol and never returned. The Chiefs were able to hang on despite a valiant effort by the Cleveland Browns. I think Browns coach Kevin Stefanski, coming off a playoff win where he wasn't present at the game, and so this was really his first coaching in the playoff game as a head coach. There was some errors, I think, on his end, not going for it on fourth down late in the game. There was a point where I think they could have challenged a spot on a. They should have gotten the first down on a third down, and they didn't challenge it. There were just some mistakes by Kevin Stefanski, in my opinion, that ultimately cost the Browns. And late in the game, it looked like they were not prepared for what the Chiefs were doing on that fourth and short, where Chad Henne actually rolled out and threw it on fourth and short. The defense was expecting, much like us and Tony Romo as the announcer, that the offense was going to try to draw them off sides and then call a timeout and probably punt. So they looked like they were caught off guard there as well. So the Browns had a really good effort. They had a strong offensive performance. The big controversy in the game was the Rashard Higgins running after the catch, getting close to the goal line, reaching out for the pylon, the ball getting dislodged by Daniel Sorensen, getting put through the end zone. Could have been a helmet-to-helmet hit, but I think that realistically, there was no other way for Sorensen to make that hit, make that tackle in general. It was either he's scoring or I'm making this hit with my head down. It was really just a kind of a tough situation to be in for him, but he was able to knock the ball loose. Higgins has to, because that was going to be a first down, a first and goal. Needs to just tuck that ball away, go out of bounds to the 1 yard line, and live to fight another down. A little bit lack of awareness there by him. Moving forward for the Chiefs, if they don't get Patrick Mahomes back, that obviously is a big issue. Chad Henne is a serviceable backup. He's a veteran. He's played well in a lot of spots where Patrick Mahomes is unavailable, including last season. He was okay in Week 17, and other than one really, really bad decision to throw a jump ball to basically nobody against the Browns, he played pretty solid for the Chiefs in relief. But there's going to be a lot of limitations against the Bills and the Bills' defense, which is really coming on as of late as well. And without Patrick Mahomes, they don't beat the Buffalo Bills. I mean, let's just be honest. With Patrick Mahomes, I think they do. So it's going to be a lot of can he play, and if he's able to play with the Chiefs at home, I think they're going to be the favorite and they'll go to the Super Bowl. The last game of the weekend was the Bucs at the Saints. Tom Brady had a up and down game, made the plays when he needed to, but the ultimate performance was the Bucs defense. In the middle of that performance was Devin White, their linebacker. He had, I think it was 140 tackles, had a bunch of sacks this year. Some of that felt like production where a lot of the tackles came down the field or there was really good defensive line play, and he was kind of being the beneficiary of that. But his performance yesterday was a standout performance. I mean, he was everywhere in pass coverage, against the run, sideline to sideline, had an interception, recovered a fumble. He was everywhere for the Bucs defense, making plays. And Drew Brees, as the Saints quarterback, I think you could see the injuries and his age kind of taking the toll on him yesterday because his arm strength was not there. Now, it hasn't been there in a while, but on top of that, he made a few bad decisions. Where in the past, if he had made maybe 5 years ago a bad decision, he might have been able to get away with it. And I think you saw Tom Brady. He made a few bad decisions as well. He left the ball inside against Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore was able to get the pass breakup. He made a bad decision on a seam route, seam or like glance type of route from Chris Godwin, and it ended up falling incomplete. But he still has the arm. His arm is still there, Tom Brady. So really, even makes bad decisions or bad reads, he's able to get away with a little bit more than Drew Brees is right now because Brees and his arm strength is just diminished. It looks like Drew Brees is retiring. It's a tough way for him to go out, having turned the ball over 3 times and losing. But if you're going to lose and end your career, I mean, he had obviously a great career, but the way to lose is to lose to the all-time great and Tom Brady. For the Bucs, it looked like the midseason Buccaneers. It didn't look like the Bucs in the last 5 weeks. It was running the ball on every first down, basically. It was third and short. They're throwing fade routes, back shoulders along the sideline, trying to drop it in over coverage. It didn't look like the Bucs in the last few weeks where they were just letting Brady drop back and throw the ball, over 40 times every game and pick apart the defense. In order for them to beat the Packers, they're going to need to do that. That can't be a ball control game. You're going to get outscored. You need to rely on Brady and his mind and his weapons, especially because they have depth. The Bucs receiving core has the depth. They have Evans and Godwin, even if Godwin's struggling a little bit right now, and Antonio Brown, but they also have Scotty Miller, who made a nice play yesterday. They also have Tyler Johnson, who made a nice play yesterday. You put Rob Gronkowski out there, but when he needs a breather, Cameron Brakel's out there, and he's been productive lately. And when you have Leonard Fournette, you also have Ronald Jones, who is battling injury but is still playing. So they have the depth. They need to get into more of a pass heavy offense, even if it's cold, even if it's in weather, because Tom Brady can pick defenses apart when you do that. Your running game can be checkdowns and short passes, and he'll get you into a run if you have an advantageous situation. But getting under center and running off every first down and only getting 3 or 4 yards, you're playing for third down at that point, and that's the reason they ended up punting so many times, and that's what their issues were. The first 10 or 11 weeks of the season. I would like to see them get back to what they did the last 4 or 5 weeks and start putting 30 points up again, because they'll be able to do it against the Packers defense if all their talent plays up to it. So those are the divisional rounds recap. Going to put out some conference championship picks later this week. 5-1 on wild card weekend, 3-1 on divisional round weekend. Total playoff pick total right now 8-2, doing pretty solid. 3 games left. So make sure you look out for that video. You can subscribe. Once again, the button at the upper right hand corner, and thank you for watching.